Could just be dying on air.
You can?
You know.
Did this get unplugged? Something happened here. That's fine.
To what? My camera? What you doing?
I'm just going to control it. It's the whole double thing isn't working.
It's fine.
Yes.
People are like, whoa.
I know.
I've never heard them say so little for so long. Facial hair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Audio was on. Sorry.
It was off for a while?
I think for the live feed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Caleb says we're muted. Send me a live chat message when you can hear us, just to prove it.
Yeah.
But it should be soon. Well, you almost fell asleep before recording.
That was lovely.
And I feel like death.
So I have my little cup of coffee.
Seems like the perfect Lent-themed episode.
Yes. Got my heart attack in a cup.
That you're just dripping everywhere.
Well, this lid sucks.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the lid off.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Just mainline it. There you go. Huh?
Caleb could hear now, right?
We'll see.
Oh.
He left.
Oh.
I thought I had the volume up.
This lid sucks.
There we go. All right. Anyway, like it was like, you're muted, and then just leaves. And it's like, okay. Oh, he says you're back. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Thought he just said it and then left. Way to be helpful. I have been thinking a lot. I'm just.
Oh, you have?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
All I do now.
About what?
This could get very intense very quickly. Like really.
Okay, I wanted to get
like
intense really
like
quickly.
hit the wall.
Yes, good. Because I got like 4 shots of espresso in here. So.
I feel kind of bitter a bit, and in like a. I'm trying to think about how to word it. Wow, I'm like, it's like washing over me a little bit. Kind of like a Dark Night of the Soul kind of thing.
You feel bitter about the Dark Night of the Soul?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
No,
that,
I don't.
John of the Cross wrote a poem about the Dark Night of the Soul, and it's essentially, how would you define it? The Dark Night of the Soul is a phase of transformative spiritual darkness. that some people undergo.
What does that mean?
I'm just trying to think of how.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a definition, because that's kind of a phrase I've been thinking about a lot. But dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is a phase of passive purification of the spirit and mystical. Yeah, it's a John of the Cross, but it's a. Ooh, yeah. So it's a phase of conversion and purification where you. Yeah. So there's. I'd have to find it. This mystical development. John of the Cross. The cross mystical development. Let me see if I can find phases. Mystical, I'm not going to find it, but it's essentially a step on the path to spiritual illumination where I feel zero presence of God at all.
Oh.
Yeah, none.
That's my entire life.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's like...
So before you were getting more of a strong emotional thing?
Always. I mean, you know how I am.
Okay.
Try not to get emotional. This is like, what? We're how many minutes in?
Yeah.
So, obviously, I'm known for, like walking through a grocery store and like being like, oh my God, yes. I exist with all of these things. And I'm constant sensation of, I'm like constantly consumed, or I was constantly consumed by experiences of beauty and their meaning. And
yeah.
And I don't really know what to do now that I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's been so hard for me to do anything.
How long has it been going on, you think?
A couple months, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's gotten worse since Lent started.
Oh,
I've
really?
noticed.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why. And I think my bitterness is that I'm so close to baptism.
And you feel nothing?
And the closer I get, the less I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be baptized and not feel anything.
You most likely won't.
I know.
What do you think that's going to do to you if you feel nothing?
I don't know, because I'm so used to feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like now that I don't know what anything matters. Like I know this is like comically intense right off the bat, but it's all I can think about anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, have you thought of that? Maybe that's what it's supposed to do.
I think this is necessary. I think whatever I'm going through is necessary.
Yeah, necessary. But I guess what you said, that you don't know how any of this matters. I mean, maybe that is what you're supposed to be feeling.
And that's what I mean by that's what the dark night of the soul is.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I should read about it. I've never heard about this before.
Yeah, it was again, John of the Cross. That's his.
Yeah.
That's a big.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of the masculine counterpart to, like the
female mystics.
No, what's her?
The castle one. Avalon?
Interior Castle.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the English title. I never remember the English title.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is super pretentious on accident, but because I read it in Spanish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like food doesn't taste good anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's like It's weird. There's I think I'm like confronting. I haven't unpacked this verbally yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I don't do it now, like I'm just not going to. That's like, it's kind of my opportunity to do it. But maybe it'll be instructive for people or insightful or whatever. I want my process to matter.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to have children to impart anything to, whatever, all that. Which is a really oddly heavy thing to say, but something about I'm also like super tired. I only slept like 4 hours last night also.
Oh, good.
We're both horribly sleep deprived. You more than me, but I've been like having binge eating issues again, but I think it's because I'm desperate.
Do you feel something again?
Yeah, which is what I think binge eating is.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's obviously making it worse. Like that doesn't help. The desperation doesn't help at all. But I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I hope this is the hardest time of my life ever. I hope so. It probably there will be more difficulty in life.
I would think so. Yeah.
But my dad dying was a fourth this difficult.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Doesn't compare. Which is weird.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I know that it's not something you really relate to.
No, I would say I definitely do. I mean,
maybe
it's just because I've most people that I have spoken to have had deep religious experiences. And I think I've said it in a podcast before, but I think it's worth reiterating. And so it's common for me to hear people talk about, how they know the presence of Christ, how they know God and everything, not through logic and reason, but through the experiences that they have had in life. And that's some, and they always tell me a story about it, right? They tell me many stories or I guess the general experiences that they have had. And I could just honestly tell you that I've had none of that ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, and it has never been something that I've had the privilege to participate in.
Yeah.
I do find glory in God, and I do find moments of beauty where you get sucked into the beautiful, but it's never to the level of saying that you absolutely know God because of this experience.
You're not like out of body. You're not.
Yes. No, yeah.
Well, that also does mean you don't really know what you're missing.
I really don't know
a little bit. Yeah. Like.
Oh yeah. I agree. I do agree with you there, but I do know that there is something there lacking.
Oh, of course.
And so it's like, I don't experientially understand what that means, but yeah. And so I remember when I spoke to a priest about this one time, and the one thing he told me was, and maybe this is not relevant to you, but but it is what comes to my mind when you're saying this.
Yeah.
And what he told me is because he believes that if I were to experience those things, I would never develop the skills and other things that I've had in life for the good of others.
Yeah.
Meaning that, if I experienced those out of body experiences, I probably would have never investigated Aquinas as much as I did.
Oh, of course,
I would have never thought about it as deeply as it did.
Because you wouldn't need it.
I wouldn't need it, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, it put me into a position where there are so many people I have encountered in my life that that I could at least be a tool for God to lead them to the church. But always in that sense, never getting to participate in what they experience. There's so many people that I know that got converted, and they tell me their experiences. I never get to experience that, but it's good that you do.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of continue on my merry way in experiences. And so maybe for you, it is a sense of I don't want to say test because I always think that gives it a negative connotation, but it could be a state where your faith should be developed beyond it.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so during this time, it's like then maybe everything else that you could develop through without having those experiences can become stronger. You know, it's kind of like if you're blind, your other senses become stronger. Mm-hmm. And so when that part of your spiritual life is blinded, the other aspects that were lacking can possibly develop a lot better and in the end be much better for you. And I think ultimately what I always believe is that it is better for other people whom you pass on the truth to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
No, I think it's obviously true. I think that's correct. But there is an element of feeling entirely unequipped to do that.
Yes.
I have no idea how the fuck. Like, okay, what else is there?
I think you merely existing in this state and people witnessing you getting baptized from everything that you have come from the beginning, that is more powerful than somebody who's just emotional about it.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, for me, that means when you say that you want to get baptized and not feel something, and you don't want that to be the case. When I see it, I see something even more glorious. I would say you feel nothing and yet you still do it.
Yeah, that's something I have to. That's
yes, but that's even more beautiful.
Because to me, that's not an option. There's no option to not do it.
Yes, yeah.
That's just what you do.
And so for you to act in accordance with the will of God, absent all of that, it almost seems like a more clear and a more ordered signal of the power of the faith. Yeah. Right. That's like, I'm doing it even regardless. I don't want to put it to the same level, but it's almost like when Abraham was going to kill his kid. It is like you're doing something that, you feel, I guess he felt that he didn't want to do it. So him going against that is something more. But still, it is like you are called to do something. And even though it is not something that you are feeling at the moment, you still pursue it. And I think the act of going through it is just a testament to the strength of the faith that you've developed throughout the last 3 years of you kind of investigating this and finally taking it.
There is kind of a it almost I feel like the vast majority of the stories we have of the lives of saints, when they're tested, there is a breaking point.
Yeah.
And I definitely...
And you need to be broken. Pretty much, yeah.
And it's like... As being someone with an extremely resilient character, I can undergo almost anything and be fine. It almost is just like, I wish my breaking point was less. I wish I was less gifted in that area so it could just be over with.
Yeah.
Like, no, it keeps getting worse. Like,
yeah.
And
it's pretty, I think it's pretty awesome because I think it is going to develop you,
I mean, I hope so.
Or I think it already is. That's what I mean.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
I'm just telling it's my anger is in that I spent my whole life, here, I'm thinking through it. I spent my whole life having these intense and constant experiences of God through beauty.
Yeah.
And I think that must, if we had to rationalize it somehow, it's almost like that's how it needed to happen.
Yes.
Because I was not.
You're not equipped otherwise. I mean, you weren't brought into a home in which you were introduced to Aquinas and all that stuff.
No,
you were brought into a Protestant world and so.
He had to reveal himself to me.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't ever going to be
Right.
It's almost like I had to be like brutalized by beauty for so long that when I heard proper articulations of what beauty was, it had to had to feel powerful.
Yeah.
And then after that, and I was oriented correctly, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of unfair, feels juvenile. Sadistic almost. That now that I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm robbed of the thing that made life feel like it mattered.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't really I do not know yet what to do with that.
Yeah. Besides just keep growing and
I don't know. I don't have any, I can't decide that. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have no agency right now. I don't.
Right, yeah. Just submitting yourself to it. Yeah.
I don't have any. Yeah, because it's almost like trying to act against it, or.
Yeah.
It's like trying to do anything to push back makes it worse.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just go, okay, well.
Yeah, but yeah, and I do think it's an important aspect of one's faith, whatever this part's called. We say the dark side of
dark night of the soul. This is a phrase I keep saying.
Right? Yeah. No, it's an interesting one because conceptually I know what it is, but I've never heard it phrased that way, and I didn't know really about his story. But it because this is also related in a variety of aspects, especially within the sacraments, that I think people experience, you know, because I've heard priests talk about this in their life. Is like when they were going through the whole process, it was something that they really they knew this was supposed to do. They felt this great emotion. They felt this great pull towards God. And they always have their stories, but there comes a point in their time where all of that is just gone. It's like they don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happens in the sacrament of matrimony. Yeah. And especially, I think this is especially true with women. It's like the anticipation of getting married was greater than the marriage itself. I mean, that they always dreamt about, you know, this entire thing. We're going to have this great, huge, they don't call it a party, but this huge wedding, which is just a huge party. And they're going to be the center of attention. They're going to find the perfect man. They're going to have the perfect family. They're going to have perfect kids and everything. And the one lady talked about this that was teaching the RCIA class.
When who?
The one who was Protestant, and then her son was she found out her son was gay, and then that's what actually led her towards the proper church.
Deb?
Is that her?
One that was at the Guadalupe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she was telling the story of how she converted. And it was the same thing. It was like she thought her life was perfect. You know, she was married to a perfect guy. She had these kids. And then her kid was gay. And then all this stuff starting to unravel, because there's going to be a point where I believe wholeheartedly that God is going to make you realize that it's not about you.
Oh yeah.
and that's the thing, is that
very aware
is that when people get married or people become priests or people convert, their initial intention really is about themselves. It's like, I want this spouse, or I want this priest, or I want whatever. And so it's like, it's all about them. But then there has to be a reality check at some point where if something hits you and you're like, oh shit, it's not about me. And it's only then when that relationship actually grows into something proper.
Oh yeah.
Because everything else is childish.
Because it doesn't have to feel like it's about you.
Yes, yeah.
You don't have to be aware that it's about you.
Yeah.
Or that you feel like it's about you.
Yeah, and you have to be aware that it's about the other. And when it's about the other, it could be the other of any sort, right? And it's like when you, and I think this is proper with conversion, is that when you choose to submit yourself to Christ, you choose to carry the cross, you choose to live and walk in the steps of Christ, which means complete and utter self-denial. that in the end of the day, it wasn't even Christ's life was not for him. Yeah. It was to die there for others. And so then you must die unto yourself in order for you to die for others. Yeah. And if you're not able to do that, if you're not able to overcome it, it's like then you're not able to pick up that cross. You're not actually able to submit yourself, because submission is the rejection in the end. And the only time a marriage ever functions the same things when both people realize this is not about me, it's about the other. Yeah. And then they sacrifice the rest of their life for them until death, and then they are relieved from that duty. And it's the same thing with priesthood. It's like they might have felt great going to seminary and reading Aquinas, getting 2 doctorates, or feeling like on top of the world. Yeah. But there comes a point when they realize this is not about me. They don't feel anything anymore. Yeah. And then it is in that sacrifice where they finally actually get to walk in the footsteps of Christ. And it's and I think it's something that we really need to be expecting. Even our listeners, who maybe some of them are single, some of them are married. It's like you just be prepared, because that moment is going to come. Yeah. And some people experience it early. And I would say I experienced it very early.
I'm not even baptized, dude.
Yes, yeah, you're not baptized. Yeah.
Which I think is relatively early. Yours was way earlier than that, but obviously.
Yes, yeah. And it was through that where everything else just starts happening. It's a very strange thing. It's like you die in a way, like you die inside, you die in everything that was you prior. Mm-hmm. And I think the shitty thing is that there's always going to be moments of weakness where you remember it again, and realizing that that's never going to be you ever again. Yeah. That to me at times brings me to tears. It's like, well, yeah, that was me prior to this moment. Yeah. But when that moment happens and you're cut off from yourself again, and then you're just existing purely for the love of the others. Yeah. The memory is always going to be there. Like you're always going to remember the moments where you broke down in tears, listened to a song, and it's going to be 40 years from now and you never experience it again.
I can still do that if I drank.
If you do, yes,
I can induce it.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yes, which is why it's spirits.
That's why. Yes.
There was this one African priest when I was in college, in undergrad, that he gave his entire homily on spirits.
Good.
Yes, talking about how spiritual it is to be intoxicated.
Nice.
I don't know if my spiel makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. Yeah. It's true.
But
it also seems like it's obvious who I know, who much older than me I know that hasn't ever hit that point.
Yes, yeah. There's plenty of people.
Yeah. It almost seems more rare than not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now that I think of you're people before and after that.
Right. Yeah.
Moment of.
I think because what ends up happening is that I think everybody experiences that moment.
I think that's why people like psychedelics so much, because they talk about ego death and all that.
Oh, right.
And so I think that's a way, in the way that alcohol induces previously lost sensitivity to beauty.
Yeah.
I think that psychedelics induce that kind of ego death thing. It's horribly disordered.
No, that makes sense.
It's not oriented correctly.
Yeah.
They just think, oh, nothing matters, and they think that's the freeing part. It's like,
right.
No.
Yeah.
But I think that's why people like them so much, because it induces the experience of getting over yourself.
Yeah.
I don't condone it. I think it's
right.
You almost leave yourself open to demonic possession and doing stuff like that. But that's not. So I'm not saying everybody go, take shrooms in the woods.
Yeah. You're not Sam Harris who talks about it.
Yeah, you're not. I'm not saying fast track through what I'm going through, but I think that must be.
Well, I think what happens is that everybody is given the opportunity for it, but very few people take it. I think once they encounter that moment, they entrench themselves further into themselves to save something. And it really does go back. There was a great homily about this, actually. And it goes back to I don't remember what verse it is. I'm sure that some Protestant listeners know it, where Christ says that those who seek to save themselves save their own life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will gain eternal life.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that. It's normally what happens is that when they encounter it, they just entrench themselves more, and they become more selfish and become more egotistical because they want to preserve. They want to preserve the little that they had rather than taking the opportunity to die, and I think they rob themselves, I think, of greater joy, because the one thing I will say, and just vividly remembering myself prior to my breaking point to now, is that the kind of joy that you get out of life when you're not seeking joy, when you're not seeking anything for yourself, is magnificently greater than the joy you get when you're thinking about yourself. And it might be related to binge eating. It's almost like when you are living your entire life for yourself, which I think everybody does at some point, right? Some people do it for 40 years of their life. Some people do it for 50 years of their life. But when you are living for yourself, I do think that those type of people tend to complain more.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to complain more because they don't even really know what true joy is. Yeah. It's like they satiate certain pleasures constantly, but they don't know true joy. Even if they're not living a vicious life, even if they're not going fucking around everything that moves, even if they're not being super greedy, but they're just living a morally decent life, they still begin to bitch. And I think the reason why they still begin to bitch is because they have not gotten over themselves yet. Yeah. They're still the center of their existence. And when you are the center of your existence, you actually never know what joy is. You're always at the state of just seeking constant pleasure.
Yeah.
And but when you finally give that up, and you're living in certain moments, you realize that not even death or anything is scary. It's like it just becomes, you're like, whatever. You just keep going, and it's beautiful. But yeah, I do think that there's a certain joy you get out of it if you begin to live a life outside of yourself.
Yeah,
which is a good opportunity for you. So I'm happy for you, really.
yeah. But it's just a thing to navigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Have you found it easier, like, to do things for others, just like because you just don't care anymore?
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Somebody's like, can you do this? Like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Some hobo will be like, hey, get $5. Like, I guess, but it's because you just don't care anymore. That's beautiful.
No, I think that's true.
It just keeps dying. Yeah. It's just to the point that when you're just completely dead and you're dead inside.
There's knowing it's a good thing can be difficult, but
yeah. But yeah, you begin to
that's the thing.
Live a life of service.
I think I underwent a similar tiny little minuscule death when I realized that how do I word it? There was a phase where I didn't give a shit about philosophy at all.
Yeah.
For a few months ago, I was just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was kind of right when we did the Summa thing. I was like,
yeah,
this is bull. I don't care. But I don't think that there's any experience of But I'm starting to retool.
Yeah.
Why it's important to me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously it's made recording the show difficult for several months, and I'm just like, really give a shit about.
Right. Any of that.
Whatever. But like, I'm starting to figure out again why.
Right.
It matters.
Yeah.
And why it's interesting. I think that's obvious, especially on Twitter. Like, anytime anybody says anything stupid, I'd rather just beat them up than argue about it.
Yes, yeah.
Someone says something. Let me see. Like, so what's that one guy's name? We've both argued with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not trying to make this about discussing Twitter because I think that's when our show is at its worst. But I just wanted to see. if I remember what the guy's name is. Some Speed something.
Did you comment on it recently?
Yeah, I'm just looking. He's the guy that says like premise 1, premise 2, premise and conclusion, and like both of the premises are like
I do remember.
What's his name? I don't remember his name. It was just like, oh yeah, no. I just wanted to find it because I just wanted to read it for you. As like okay. So it was over 24 hours ago, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking on your Twitter.
It would be in the replies. What if I look up? Yeah, this is getting boring now. I totally killed it.
Fine.
I wanted to find it. I just wanted to have a laugh. That's all I wanted. So if I go at boob rejector, and then go incoherent, I think I'll find it. Oh, yeah. This is literally the most arrogantly incoherent philosophical statement I've ever heard.
Oh, the atheist guy.
Yeah. So he goes, objective moral truths are true in all possible worlds. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so objective moral truths are true in all possible...
I found it, so yeah, I'm reading along. Yeah.
God cannot be the ground of objective moral truths unless it's possible God exists in all possible worlds. It is not possible God exists in all possible worlds. Therefore, God cannot be the ground of objective moral truths. It was like, that doesn't even sound intelligent.
Yes, yeah.
And I just was, and then he said something.
What was your reply?
No, what did he said? He said, on my view, if God exists necessarily and atheism is metaphysically possible, then it follows God necessarily does not exist. If God exists necessarily, but people are capable of not believing it, then he can't exist. And it's just like, and I hear an argument like that, and I'm like, I just want to hit you in the head with a crowbar. I don't want to argue about it. I think you should be savagely and brutally beaten.
Day ago, man. You should text me when these things happen.
No, I didn't get any responses to it.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
oh, okay.
no. I didn't engage. Not really.
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't know when that started.
When you just gave up on that stuff?
No, when I gave up arguing with people
and
that's what I mean, literally just want to like curb stomp them. Like if someone says something like that, my response is you should be like savagely beaten with like blunt instruments. Like without regard for your survival. Like you just I don't want to argue about it. I just want to hit you.
Yeah.
Immediately. It's not like there's a buildup. I just immediately any impulse I had to argue, which was great, has been funneled with equal fervor into physically attacking them.
That's hilarious.
I don't know why that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to argue with anarchists on the internet. I just want to beat them up.
Yes.
And I'll scream about the NAP or like whatever. And I'm like, I think that's why Twitter is like super boring now.
Yeah. You haven't.
No, I just shit post and stuff and like interact with people I know, but that doesn't really feel like it matters because nothing feels like it matters. But obviously, the previous discussion. But like, I just don't want to argue with people. I know enough of what's true that when I hear things that aren't true, it's so obvious to me enough of what's true. That when people just actively disagree with it, it's like you should just be like punched in the face. Like you.
Yes. Oh, especially something like that. I mean, that just...
Yeah, and they're like, they say, God, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, God is... you run through
of course,
act of being thing, and they're like... And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hit you. I'm just...
I know, that's what they
I'm just going to hit you in the head with an aluminum bat. Like, I'm not...
No, that is why they all should just accept the ontological argument.
Even that, like I don't.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about then, because obviously, there's
Yeah.
Yeah,
because even that, I don't feel much about the ontological argument. I'm like, it's just it's
yeah,
it's so obviously true that it has zero depth. Yes. It just is. I'm like, okay, it's just an unfun. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not interesting. But I'm not angry about it.
No, I'm not saying that you are. But what I'm saying is that it's like. Even just with the ontological, because what he's the argument that he's making there is an ontological argument, but it's for the reverse.
Yeah,
he's basically saying that if I can think of a possible world where there is no God, it means therefore there is no God. That's what he's saying. It's a stupid argument. Yeah. And so when you bring in a more proper ontological argument and saying, well, no, and essentially that that which is being itself, right? That which is nothing greater can be thought of, necessitates it to exist. Then, because if not, it is not the greatest thing.
Yeah,
and so you could counter his ontological argument with I think a much more sophisticated ontological argument.
The ontological argument.
The actual one. Yeah. Because that's what people like him, since he's more of like an analytical mind. Someone like him, I would say the ontological argument would probably actually be more effective than a Thomistic argument, because a Thomistic argument begins many times with inductive reasoning that leads to deduction. Yeah. While the ontological, which is pure deduction. Yeah. And I would say it's just like the way that you phrase. I really do like your phrasing. It says that God must be, because if God he wasn't,
must be, because if he wasn't, then he wouldn't be.
Yes, because that is a good way to phrase it. That's the
reduction. That's the ultimate. Yes. I think that's the ultimate reduction of the ontological argument.
It is. Yeah.
That I developed in making fun of it.
Yeah, but it is so. It's so good in ordinary language that I think that if you were arguing with like an atheist like that, it actually would be effective, because essentially it's like, well, then I'm thinking of a universe where there is no God. You'd be like, yeah, then you're not thinking of God. Yeah. Because if you
tried to counter that, then you just hit him in the head. Yes.
Yeah. And so
could both get our way.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. But that whole group, I don't know what this, because they're not called new atheists, because they kind of reject a lot of the new atheist ideology. Yeah. But this more contemporary atheist, I think, that spawned out probably in the last 3 years.
Yeah, like the post new atheists.
Yeah. They're like the post new atheists.
New atheists.
Yeah, that I think socially it kind of like came into being with, what was that guy who used to be famous, like Stefan Molyneux or something? Yeah. I think he was kind of like one of the first ones that brought it in there.
What was his book called? It was essentially that the truth is the most efficient thing, or something, or the best way to do this. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that kind of idea has spawned in these new contemporary atheists, and so. They have like this weird respect with scholastic thinking, but at the same time they continue to make really stupid arguments against it. It's as if they want to play this game where they're being sympathetic and they're being as objective as possible in trying to listen to the arguments.
But universally preferable behavior.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a rational proof for secular ethics.
Okay, yeah.
It's that.
Right, yeah.
It's it's same. That's the same heresy kind of thing. That like
Sam Harris's was actually The Moral Landscape, which is.
I know, but I'm saying it's kind of a similar, like the behavior that everyone universally prefers must be moral because everyone prefers it or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because he gives kind of his own like mythology of the two lives, the worst possible life, and the good life.
That's just the Stefan Molyneux was.
Yeah, he was the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. With kind of more coherent.
Probably than Sam Harris.
No one cares about No one cares about Richard Dawkins anymore.
No, I know.
No one's cared for years for him.
Yeah.
Christopher Hitchens died. Mm-hmm. Daniel Dennett, no one cares.
No one cares, yeah. He was always like the nerd that nobody really liked that much.
But then Sam Harris took a while.
Yeah,
and then he nuked himself on that one video. That's so funny because he wasn't bad philosophy or anything. He was just saying something insane. It's like, he just made a horrible.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know if it was supposed to be a joke or not, but
I don't think it was. he said not those type of comments, but comments in a similar tone before.
Yeah.
About science and how,
And I wonder if he just made them after everybody was tired of it.
I think so.
Okay.
I think, yeah, and
because he nuked himself fast.
He did, yeah. I think everyone was tired of it, but I think this is the part that I normally attribute to pop culture thinkers like Jordan Peterson.
Ayn Rand.
No, like Jordan Peterson.
No, I'm saying Ayn Rand is pop culture.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah.
When people say pop philosophy, I'm like, oh, Ayn Rand.
And yeah, she is. She's another pop philosopher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think someone like Peterson just introduced good enough counter arguments towards atheism.
Yeah.
Like they weren't the best, they weren't spectacular.
Well, they weren't complete.
They weren't complete, yeah.
He knew they weren't, but
yeah.
Which just makes it even weirder, but
yes. But I think he presented them enough to where many people just stopped taking
the New Atheist seriously.
The New Atheist serious, yeah, because
did you watch his debate with Sam Harris?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It was just so.
I know.
It was so easy.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I think it was pretty good. I think it was interesting, but
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
But I do think that
they're both high IQ people.
Yes, but Peterson really outshone him a lot.
Oh yeah.
I personally think in that debate, even though his arguments weren't the best, but because of the way he debated, the fact that he didn't even need rehearse lines or he didn't need to take notes and he just sat there really confidently talking, made Sam Harris look lower IQ.
Oh yeah.
And I think because of that, a lot of
Sam Harris was much more just repetitive.
He was, yeah. I think it was at that point. I do think that was one of the biggest points in pop culture for philosophy, that was the beginning of the end for Harris and the rest of the New Atheists.
That debate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because after that...
2017?
It's been a while now, yeah.
2017?
18 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it was 2017. I think it was 2018. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyways... Yeah, and then it was a slow collapse, and I think people just didn't take him serious anymore. So then, when he did that interview about the satellites,
oh my god!
Yeah, people was like, "Holy shit!" Like he still doesn't learn, and
bodies of dead children in his basement, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah,
it's like wow.
He just, he.
Anybody that says like you can't have anything.
Yeah.
Anything worthwhile to say about the structure of morality if you say something like that.
Yeah.
But also if your ethics are fundamentally just preferential.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have dead children. I mean,
it's to the point that someone even like what's his name? The comedian guy who's a lefty.
All of them.
He used to host Politically Incorrect. Bill Maher.
Oh, yeah.
So even someone like Bill Maher already moved past the New Atheists. And you talk about Bill Maher, who used to be like a stand-in for that. You know, he was the comedian, pop culture guy for the New Atheists. Yeah. Even he just once you saw him and like Joe Rogan just go beyond them and be like, well, they're not that interesting anymore. I think everything just followed along. And the fact that Sam Harris is still being like this anti-Trump person when not even Bill Maher, who was one of the most leftiest people in the last 40 years, is so anti-Trump anymore. It's like, it makes him seem stupid, you know, and I think it's a good thing because he always was stupid, but he masqueraded as someone intelligent because
he learned how to talk smart.
Yeah, he learned how to talk smart, and he he just had these quips that made things seem stupid, you know.
Yeah,
and people were not able to look past it because they themselves were stupid, and so they couldn't like argue against his non-arguments. It was like, because he would never make an argument. You watch any of his older stuff, they all were bad. He was like somebody will present a solid argument, and then his response is like, yeah, 500 years we burned witches. And it's like, okay, that's not an argument. But people were like, oh my gosh, I'm so convinced by him. And And I think just the slow decay, and I really do think Peterson kind of just exposed it more was.
Well, I think Sam Harris's initial success was in saying the quiet part out loud about like Muslims.
Right. Yeah.
So people were oh, finally someone saying that Muslims suck.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And blow things up. Mm-hmm. So I think that was his.
Yeah. And I think he was clever. I think I think his greatest gift that he was clever. He was able to say funny things or quasi funny things off the cuff. And it seems like he lost a lot of that. And then now with his beard and his shaggy hair, he kind of looks like...
he looks so gross. Would you call him Ben Stiller's uglier cousin?
Yeah. He looks like he lost his way. Even the way he sits now. Like he always kind of like leaned back a little bit, but the way now he looks is like,
his neck.
Yeah. I was like, did you just... He's looking, like worse off Ben Stiller. Someone probably who drank too much and
he does look like an alcoholic.
Yeah,
he's got the alcoholic neck.
He does, and someone who kind of has that unsatisfied look in his eyes,
where he's like,
there's something about him that he just looks unsatisfied.
His eyes are like overly intense and open.
Yeah. Or they're halfway shut because he looks like he's half intoxicated.
Because he probably is.
Yeah, probably.
We only done like 40 minutes.
Do you want it to be done already?
No, I'm
it
just
could be a short episode if you want.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I finally feel motivated to get on the computer and put everything out that anything I have missed. I feel like I need to.
Oh yeah,
obviously I need to put it all out, but
yeah.
So I was. I've been like, I have an iMac, but I want an iPad because I want the mobility and all this stuff. Now it's like, why don't I just get a MacBook again? Yeah. I was like, I used the hell out of my last one. Just don't use a third-party charger, I guess, or something. So I fried my M1 board.
Yeah. You ended up selling that one, right?
No, I have it in my bag right now.
Do you really? Yeah. Apple wouldn't take it in? They should take it in on trade at least. If they take broken shit normally.
For trade-in?
Mm-hmm.
They'd give me like $100 for it or something.
Probably more than that. If it's an M1, they probably give you at least like maybe $300, I would think, $350
for a broken one. Mm-hmm. The M1 board is shot.
Yeah, but that's something that they could replace.
Oh, and then just sell it refurbished for way more.
Yeah,
that might be worth it.
Yeah.
So I think the M1 board is the RAM, it's the hard drive, everything on it.
Yep. Yeah.
Which I don't actually like.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's the hardware equivalent of like making all of your passwords exactly the same thing for every website you use.
Yeah.
It's like you're just asking to have everything hacked once one person.
I know.
It's like one thing fails and it's the whole thing.
Yeah. That's why because I have two of the Mac Pros, but they're the trash can models.
Yeah.
I'm honestly thinking of getting the larger Mac Pro, the 2019 model, the most recent one.
The cheese grater one?
Yeah.
Selling all the other ones.
Because I think that's going to be the last model that is not using M1. And what I can do, and this is where my idea is. Yeah. Probably none of the listeners care, but anyways.
No, it's fine.
Well, what you could do now is that since it's been on the market for like 3.5 years now.
It hasn't been upgraded or anything?
No.
They haven't changed the internals at all? It's that powerful?
Yes. It's that powerful, but it's also getting to the point that all of the internals, since it's Intel, I could get cheaper. And so I could buy the base model for like $5,000, or I could find a refurbished base model for like $4,000, and then just buy third-party RAM, buy third-party graphics cards, and I could buy everything because it's still modular that way. And I could get it much cheaper.
That's what a pro computer's for.
Yes.
That's why people like PCs.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And so I'm thinking of getting just selling everything that I have, and just probably having one laptop and one Mac Pro, and just having monitors at home and stuff where I could just take the laptop and plug it in and all that shit. So I'm thinking of like liquidating all of my computers and just having two of them.
This one,
and the newer Mac Pro, and it's because then I could also just slowly upgrade it. I'd get a new graphics card, a newer one comes out, you could put it in there. Yeah. You could change the Xeon, the Intel Xeon
whatever it is,
processor
is it
and all
an
that shit.
i9?
No, it's beyond that. Yeah.
Is there there's not a beyond i9?
i9 was for like laptops and like that kind of computing for the bigger computing power. They didn't use those series. There was
There was a higher end series.
Yeah, there was a higher end Intel series. Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, i9 is the highest. Of
Yeah. No, for those ones, yeah, I agree. But
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And so
Were
yeah,
they made specifically for Apple?
no, they make it for PCs too.
Oh.
Yeah. But now you could get their highest one that Apple, you could install it in. And if you get it from Apple, it's like $7,000 just to have the highest, like 24 core, whatever, Intel Xeon processor.
Yeah.
But if you buy it just from Intel directly, I think it's $1,300.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could buy the base model and just buy the 1,300 one and put it in yourself. Yeah. And it's pretty fucking simple.
Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah, I know, yeah. but yeah, well, everybody says that it's pretty simple. You just lay it down and you just install it's like 4 screws.
Yeah.
And boom, you just put it in and you get the new processor. And so, I'm most likely going to end up doing that in the next few months.
So all your...
Yeah.
So you'll sell this orange one and everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just sell everything. See,
that sounds so freeing.
I know, but if I did sell all of that, I'll have more than $4,000, and with the $4,000, I could
easily,
I could just buy
if not more.
Yeah,
yeah.
I could buy the base model because I already saw refurbished. It's like $4,600 refurbished, and free shipping. So I was like, I just get that shit. And
they just deliver it to the Apple Store.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
To the Apple Store, for free shipping.
You work in the same building, so whatever.
I know, yeah. And then just slowly buy the components to upgrade it.
Yeah.
And then make myself a supercomputer that's going to last for another 10 years or so.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's...
Yeah, I miss having a MacBook so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just like... I have to have an Apple computer.
Yeah.
I can't not. I should have you talk to Derek sometime. He's a huge audio nerd.
Okay.
And the drivers, like Windows hasn't updated how they've done their audio drivers for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So you have to get like third-party audio drivers to install, and then you can tweak your audio that way, like your latency and stuff, like whatever.
Yeah.
But then Apple just does it natively.
Oh, right.
Yes. Yeah. And
I love that.
So like if I record music and stuff and like recording the show and like I'm not going to use a PC to do that. Right. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Because I plugged one of my interfaces into my PC tower.
Yeah.
And the latency for saying something and then the computer processing it and then playing it back was like half a second.
Yeah. Wow.
It was really bad.
Yeah. Damn.
So let's imagine being on a phone call where you're getting your own voice back half a second later. Then I was like, there's no way you can record anything with latency like that.
Yeah.
Then I was looking it up. It's like, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to commit to the Windows only life. I have to have both.
No, yeah, I agree with
Extremely first world, but
yeah.
We live in such an opulent society that we can just have multiple computer systems for thousands of dollars.
I know. I have way too much. Like when I look at it, I was like, why do I have all this stuff? But what's interesting is that I have a mixture of the Intel and the M1 Pro Max, M1 Max processors and everything. So I don't have any of the M2s yet. But I'm still a bit conflicted of whether I like the change or not.
I don't like it.
Yeah, because there is...
I think the only reason Apple did it was to keep keep everything internal.
Yeah, exactly.
Within their company.
Yeah.
They didn't want to outsource anymore.
Because what's strange, and I don't know if anybody else experienced it, but... So I have like some Mac Intel processor ones that are completely maxed out, like maxed out to the max, right?
Yeah. Max.
And then I have
Max.
M1 Max ones maxed out, right? So your
Maxi Max.
Yes, it's 64 gigs of RAM. It's like 4
Maximum
terabytes.
Macintosh.
Yes, it has everything that you could put into that laptop and everything. And even though in the benchmark tests, they always talk about how significant the M1 beats the Intel ones. In real life work, I actually don't see that to be the case. and I really don't know why. And so like when I'm editing videos, for example, the rendering of the files in Final Cut on the M1 Max is quicker.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to wait much for that to really. I mean, I shouldn't say rendering, the exporting.
Yeah, rendering audio on the M1 computers is immediate.
Yes, it's immediate. Yeah. But the one thing that I did notice, and I don't know if it's because everything is unified, but if I have Photoshop, Motion, Final Cut Pro, and then I'm playing like a video from Hulu, like when I'm working, and I have all this stuff opened, I get more of the pinwheel on the M1 than I do on a maxed out.
I think the M1s were a test run.
Okay, yeah.
So they were the first. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't used an M2.
Yeah.
They're likely when I sell this iMac off, it's probably I probably will.
Yeah.
I don't see myself getting a previous generation computer.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not my style. But,
I know. Yeah.
I the fact that mine shat the bed like a year and a half in, and the whole board just died suddenly.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do but pay Apple like $650 to repair it.
Yeah.
I was like, you're not selling me on the M1.
Yeah.
Because a year ago that repair would have cost $250.
Right.
Because it would have been a separate component that they could just
yeah.
swap out really fast.
Yes.
But when your M chip
is everything,
is you like one thing dies, the whole thing dies.
The whole thing dies. Yeah. And I think I've noticed that too. I think because the RAM is not separate, when you have many things opened,
it doesn't operate as efficiently.
It doesn't operate as efficiently as my Mac Pro does in the end of the day. And
do you have the 16 gigs unified? Or is it
64?
On which computer? On this one?
On the other one that I have like this.
64? Okay.
Yep, 64, yeah. And I have the same amount on the Mac Pro.
Yeah.
And I really have noticed it. If I have like heavy intensive software, like 5 to 10 of them opened up, then that's
and of course your use case is
it's very rare.
Intense.
I understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're not most people, but you are also somebody who
works professionally,
brutalizes computers.
Yes, I use it
more because you have to. It's part of your work, but
and
most people don't have to do that, so you're not going to notice what you're talking about.
Yes,
really,
must be okay. Yeah,
but you're also saying that you're calling BS
on the benchmarks. Yes, because I do get it. Like if I put both of them side by side and then I push export or render, the M1 is going to be faster by a long shot. You know, you're talking about like something that on my Intel one maxed out, it might take about, if it's a long video, it might take like 15 minutes to render. The M1, with the M1 Max that I have, probably takes like 5 minutes. So it's like, it's a huge difference in terms of that. But while I'm working, like while I am editing and I have all this shit opened, on my Intel one, I never get the pinwheel. And with the M1s, I do. Like in the middle of editing, it's like kind of stutters a little bit. It's like the mouse kind of stutters and then a little bit, and then it kind of goes in there. And I don't experience that with the Mac Pro at all. So that's why I want to get the last Mac Pro that's Intel before, and I could at least enjoy that for the next several years. Yeah. Because in the end, it's never going to go back.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Apple never goes. Well, they went back to the squared off stuff.
That's true. Yes.
Which was weird. But
yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
You know, I just miss having a mobile computer.
Yeah.
Like an actual. I had the process for doing the show just so down to a science after like however many dozens of episodes we did, and then when my MacBook died, I had to totally rework my process, and I've never ever found anything that felt anything but horribly inconvenient and annoying. Yes. I hate the iMac keyboards.
Right.
The squishy little membrane cheapy. It's so cheap.
Yes.
There's no way that costs more than like $15 to make.
Probably not.
Seriously. Like it's really bad. I also hate Apple Magic mice.
Oh, do you?
I know you're used to them just because it's what you use, but they're the most ergonomically disastrous mouse I've ever used.
Oh, really?
Really horrible.
Wow. I think I would like any mouse that just has that surface. I like the
but the shape is horrific. It's it's not I like the functionality.
Yeah, that's for me is what it is. It's like flipping between, because I always work on full screens.
Oh, of
And
course.
So like I'm switching between apps with my two fingers.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah.
It's a trackpad thing. So when it's
It
on a
is, yep.
MacBook, it feels fine.
Yes, yeah.
But like
the
when I use a
Magic
mouse, I want a mouse with buttons and a wheel and like.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the shape just bothers me too much.
Do you remember the Mighty Mouse one? Had that little ball that did the same thing, went left to right. And
The little pill shaped one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a pill.
Yeah.
And
That came out with the Generation 3, 4 Max.
oh yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, like the G3s and the G4s.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
I
whole
like
surface
them.
clicked.
Yes. Yeah.
That's better. That's more ergonomic. It makes more sense. And then the gestures you can do with the little mouse is
Yeah,
the
because
little wheel.
they have the little wheel. For me, that's what I mean. As long as I can
when
do
we're
those
talking
gestures.
about it, I can feel it.
Yes,
I can
I
feel
know,
it
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Where it kind of presses down a little bit
Yep.
and like,
So I remember when the Magic
that's
Mouse
so weird.
first came out, I didn't like it because I missed that little ball.
Yeah.
Like I was so used to that ball, like flipping between, because they did it a full screen for a while now.
Yeah.
And I just flip between screens like that, but then when they got rid of it, I had to get used to the Magic Mouse after that.
Man, I'm just thinking about why I don't know why that. Oh, and it had the little squeezy tabs on the
sides. Yeah.
Just like it's weird how like vivid the memory of that mouse
Yeah.
is. Also the circular colored ones for the
Yep. Yeah.
the G3,
Yeah.
G2.
I think G3.
EMAG, G3.
Yeah.
Had the puck ones.
Yes. Oh yeah. The puck ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those I remember all of those. I think my favorite one was the Mighty Mouse. Was the one with a ball and the two clicks.
Would you take one that was wireless over what you have now?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That'd be pretty badass.
I know.
They should come back out with
They
the
should
Mighty
really.
Mouse.
I think they should
Sell
make
it for
that.
cheap, and it's good plastic.
Yeah.
Sell it
They
for
can make it
50.
look nice.
Well,
Just-
they'd sell it for $300 or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
because it's Apple, but
Oh yes, yeah.
sell a little $80 wireless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because what are the Magic Mice are like?
Just $100.
100?
Yeah. I think
so the Mighty Mouse.
79 for the white one and 100 for the black one.
That's so weird and annoying.
Everything that is black.
I hate Apple so much, but their stuff
I know.
works so well.
I know,
for what
I
it
know.
is.
Yeah, they're horrible.
That's the funny thing is like you can the Photoshop and like visual stuff.
I know. Yeah.
PCs are just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
But it's audio that Mac does like tangibly better. Like there's no.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's no competition.
No, I think for the visuals it is different.
It's because their native monitors are better.
Yep. Yeah, the monitors are better.
Way better.
And the first computer that the state gave me was a Windows one, and doing Photoshop on there I found pretty laggy.
Well, it turns out the video was it a PC? Or I mean,
Yeah.
was it a laptop?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, the graphics cards and laptops are garbage. But if you had like a 3090 or something, a 4060 or something, there was.
Oh yeah, then it probably worked better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For the same
was,
price, like
it was just very, and I hated the colors on that monitor. It was,
it's
I thought
garbage.
it was horrible.
Yeah, garbage.
It's like
total garbage.
Yeah,
but it's a laptop. It's Windows laptops are not.
Yeah, and that was a maxed out one too. That I think that computer cost them nearly $4,000.
Yeah, it's not. The
But
same.
it was
something
horrible.
about Windows.
Yeah,
laptops are not good.
I
Coming from
hated
MacBook,
working it.
MacBooks are too good.
Yeah,
that's why for me, I prefer if it's a desktop, I want it to be a Windows computer, and if it's a laptop, it has to be a Mac.
Apple, yeah.
Which is funny because like I hate Windows laptops and I love MacBooks, but I don't understand using OS X as a desktop.
Oh yeah.
Why would you not just have a PC?
That's weird to me. You know? But yeah, I don't know. And the other thing is the Final Cut Pro. So you can't get Final Cut Pro on Windows. I really do not like Adobe Premiere.
Yeah,
I think it's
rest in peace, Adobe.
It's a shitty ass software. I like Avid. Avid works on both.
Yeah,
Avid is pretty good.
Is that the people who make Pro Tools?
Yep. Yeah.
But that's a video software?
Yeah, video software. Yeah.
Oh.
And they normally release the Apple one first, and then I think that Windows one comes out like a few months afterwards.
Weird.
But I think that's true with a lot of these softwares. Like they optimize it for Apple because most of the people use.
That Photoshop was originally
Windows,
right?
Yep. Yeah, that's
Photoshop works fantastically on Windows computers.
Yeah. I think Adobe stuff in general does.
Yeah.
I think most Adobe Suite, where they get Premiere or whatever, it works just as good on the Windows.
I've used Photoshop on my PC tower, and it's fantastic.
But I think everything else, just no. if you're gonna do video editing, it's like you're gonna want to get the Apple computer.
This thing for audio, there's no reason to use a PC.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people just do, and it's fine.
Of course,
but if you're serious about it, there's no
reason to.
There's no reason to use a Windows computer. It's not going to happen.
No, it's horrible.
Their audio drivers are too bad. How long have we gone?
An hour and 10 minutes.
I don't need to leave yet. I'm just unless you're.
I don't need to leave, but I mean, if you're good.
No, I'm just thinking.
It would just be the computer episode. Started intense, and it just turned into a conversation about Windows and Apple.
That's fine. That's old school.
It is, yeah.
It's old school. I think that.
So I was actually kind of serious about the rape thing.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
This is classic. This is a Contra Gentiles episode.
Yeah.
For the old school fans.
Yeah.
For the old guard.
And I was, because when I was thinking about it, I don't know much texts from.
They're definitely going to contract you out after this.
From before. There's not that much written before like the 1800s, especially not the 1900s more so, but the 1800s, I believe you could find information about it, but there's not that much written about rape.
Wasn't the rape of Persephone like a...
What do you mean?
A myth?
I don't know that one, actually. What's that one?
Wasn't Persephone raped by a swan?
Oh, yes, but what I mean is that...
I thought you meant that there was no... It's like a lesbians, like there's no such thing as lesbians.
Right, yeah. Well, what I mean is that there was not much written in terms of its moral heft.
Oh, like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yes, and that's what I mean. It isn't that nobody mentioned rape. What I mean is that when rape was discussed, it was mostly discussed in terms of power relations, like, kings fucking with them, and they would never really use the word
like
rape.
Warfare, raping and pillaging.
But like the term rape is normally a contemporary reflection on what was described back then. Like if you actually read the original text, they wouldn't use the term rape. Like it was something that we contemporized later, and it's like, this is rape or this is that. It was just forceful sex or power relations with people. Mm-hmm. So it just got me thinking a little bit in terms of rape and the way that it is discussed now, because the way that it is discussed now, I think is from its very origin, of the beginning of its discussions in the 1800s, I think it was always a bit fabricated.
Well, they also think it's worse than murder.
I think it's worse than murder, but also it's like they took this.
Well, that's the same timeline as like the concept of homosexuality.
Yes.
It's the same.
And that's what I find interesting, is that all of this kind of developed around the same time period. Yeah. And so like this concept of rape was further developed in this time. And then everything else you could see really just not really being developed until the 1900s. Yeah. It's like you could see the early stages of the mid 1800s, but really rape as we know it really didn't become a thing until the 1900s. Because prior to that, like you said, the way rape was contextualized in the old times was like in terms of narratives, but it wasn't like this grave sin that somebody have committed. Like when was the last time you heard Jesus talk about rape?
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing in Scripture, I believe, that talks about rape, about being bad, about being whatever.
The Bible doesn't say that rape is bad. Yeah. I'll present that to my mother. Yeah. Like, hey, so the Bible doesn't say anything about rape.
There's no.
So, where does that argument come from?
Yeah. Because it's weird when you think about it. It's like, if rape really was that grave.
Is that scriptural?
Yeah. I mean, Jesus talks a lot about divorce.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a shit about rape. It's like, you ought not rape people. It's like, whatever. It's like, sex is sex.
Yeah.
And what they're more concerned with, and what you see.
Well, the idea that anybody can be obligated to sex is anathema now.
Exactly, yeah.
That when you're married, you're obligated to have sex.
Exactly, yeah.
And procreate. The procreative act is the defining feature of marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that rape wasn't that big of a deal for the majority of human history. And it wasn't viewed as that grave of an activity, because in the end of the day, the act of sex is not about consent. The act of sex is about reproduction.
Yeah.
And there almost seems to be a correlation when the consensualists started to dictate many of their philosophies in the 1800s, that rape actually became an issue.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and I haven't done enough research on it, and I wonder how much correlation there is with consensualism and rape.
Like anarchism?
Yes.
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Because it seems like it developed around the same time. Same thing with
Oh, like if they've been touched as a kid, if they're anarchists? Is that what you mean?
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I kind of like that better. Yeah, maybe. No, just the idea that sex requires consent.
Yeah.
And I don't think that prior to that, it was really viewed that sex necessitated consent.
Well, it obviously doesn't.
Yes, that if you got married,
the immorality,
you already consented because you signed that.
Yeah.
The actual marriage document. What is it called again? Fucking the legal form, whatever the license, right?
Yeah.
And with that, you've already consented, and so for the rest of your life, you're already consented to sex.
Yeah.
And so even if he holds you down
but
and
it's the holding down and the beating and stuff. That's the wrong there. It's not the actual act of sex.
Right. Yes. But even then, I mean, when did Jesus say not to beat your wife?
Okay.
So what I mean is that there seems to be a weird obsession with rape that we have now.
Yeah.
And that we talk about it constantly.
General,
yeah, it is sex in general, but specifically
disordered sex,
specifically rape.
Yeah.
It's like when we say rape, that is a sin that ought never to be uttered, even for a joke in the contemporary world.
Yeah.
So you can't joke about forcibly holding somebody
rape
down.
in the Holocaust.
Yeah, rape in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting because you're not going to find it anywhere else. You're not going to find it in any scriptural readings, or you're not going to find it in any epistles from fucking any of the writings of popes throughout history, until recent, right? Until the 1900s, and then they talk about it. But prior to that, it's like there were many encyclicals written by popes that never mentions rape. It doesn't give a shit about it. It's like that. It was so inconsequential that the woman must consent.
Yeah.
There was like, no, that's not the immorality about it.
Yeah.
The immorality was other things.
The violence.
The violence. Yeah. The immorality was in divorce.
Yeah.
Like these things were something worth talking about for over 3,000 years.
Yeah.
But rape wasn't. It was like whatever. That was just a factor within life that women are kind of don't want to do it all the time, but you just make them do it like kids. And,
oh my God. Yeah.
And
I just have to sit here and take it. Yeah.
And so it's I don't know. Like I really, there has to be some explanation. I don't know what the explanation is, but I find it interesting that the discussion of rape doesn't really happen in any time.
Well, it's, I think,
until a certain point in history. And what is it that influenced this so much? Why was there no popes, no bishops, no apostles, no Jesus, no fucking what's his name, Buddha? There's literally nobody in the entire world talked about rape as a grave sin.
Yeah.
In any sense until the contemporary world. So what was that shift? What really caused rape to even be a topic of discussion? Because it obviously wasn't, right? I mean, Christ talks a lot about sin many times. He talks a lot about damnation. He talks a lot about that you shouldn't get divorced. He talks a lot about other things that talks about damaging your soul. Never once he'd be like, and please don't rape. It didn't even come up as an example. It didn't even come up
Aquinas write about rape?
No, that's what I mean. You could read Aquinas. You could read any of these theologians for thousands of years. It doesn't really.
Did the Greeks write about rape?
No, Aristotle didn't be like, oh, rape is a grave injustice against the woman, like we talk about now. It never comes up really. And so,
well, I think it has to be the development that women are not obligated to anything.
Yes, anymore. Yeah. So
that was kind of the start of, I guess, the roots of feminism would be in the mid 1800s.
Yeah. and that now rape has become just a taboo subject. When I think prior to it, it just really wasn't even worth discussing. It's almost like discussing, about pudding. It's like, yeah, war, It's like, yeah, war happens, rape happens, conquering happens, whatever. But it wasn't.
Well, because all immorality is sexual now. Anything you can say, there's no such thing as non-sexual immorality now, unless it's like murder.
Yes, yeah.
But like,
yeah, but
like if you ask people, like if you had a child rapist or a murderer, in prison who committed the graver sin,
they would say the child rapist.
Yeah, it's like obviously it was the murderer. Like,
yes, I know.
Killed a guy.
Yes, yeah.
But not that the child rapist did nothing wrong. It's not. Of course, it's not to say that's not a grave sin.
Yes, yeah. But it's interesting that rape has just become such a central topic in our like contemporary moral discourse.
But I think it's the least, aside from killing someone, like murdering them.
Yeah.
Like murdering them against their will specifically.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything that would violate consent more than rape.
Yes.
Force feeding someone doesn't violate consent as much as rape does. Like
yeah.
So like if consent is the measure of the morality of an action, or the violation or affirmation of consent,
right.
Not assent, consent.
Yeah.
Then rape is probably the worst one, if that's your measure.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean, that it had to have come up simultaneously with the age of consensualism.
Yeah.
It's like that's why rape now is held to such gravity.
That's the only reason. But
other than that, when you really do analyze the act, it's like, I would say an act like divorce is worse than rape.
Oh, of course.
And that's, I think, for some people, it's like, it's horrifying for anyone to say that. It's like, no, but I really do think that there's actions that we do that are actually worse than rape. And rape, in the end, is pretty low in the totem pole of grave immoral actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say sodomization of somebody is worse than it.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I mean, if you produce a child through rape, I mean, you've ontologically fulfilled the act to a pretty good capacity.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one of those topics that I think is so taboo nowadays that we can't even discuss it, or people just think you're a monster, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, why is he talking about rape? Why didn't he just shut up about rape already?" No, but I think it's because it's weird. I find it weird that it is such a it is like the sin in the contemporary world really is rape, and especially
racism.
And racism, yeah, rape and racism, both which really
R&R.
Yes,
they're gonna take vacation and eat some little R&R.
Racism is not even that bad in reality.
It's natural,
yeah. It's even hard for me to say that it's a sin.
It's racism?
Yeah.
Well, it's not real how people conceive of it.
Yeah.
No one hates you because of your skin color.
Exactly. And even if
the Mormons hated people for their skin color.
But because it's signified.
They had a mythology,
Yeah. The descendants of Cain. No, but...
Or the people who sided with the devil.
Yeah.
And the weird
That's why they were dark.
Devil God war. Yeah. Until 1972.
Yeah, but I find the sins that we hold the most grave nowadays to be quite silly. I think racism, just as racism, is not even sinful. Yeah. If racism simply is prejudice against a certain race for whatever reason, that I don't think that's even a sinful act. That's just an inductive reasoning, probably guided by emotional reaction to experience.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a sinful act. Yeah. Rape obviously is sinful.
Yeah, murdering a black guy is a sin.
Yes, exactly, because murder is wrong, right?
Yes.
Not because it was determined by racism. I think just because murder is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think rape is sinful not because of the act of penetration and ejaculation. It's I think it's sinful because, especially if it's done outside of the context of marriage, I don't think it's possible to rape your wife.
Yeah.
I think that's an impossible act. When you sign the contract, you have already consented.
Yeah.
And so you're consented until the end of time, or until you're dead.
That's a Jeremyism that pisses people off.
Is it? Yeah.
I remember we had that discussion years ago.
Yeah.
People were like, I was like, I don't know. He's my co-host.
just imagine if you sign a contract with your job and the contract said, I'm going to work for you until death. Like that's literally what your contract said. Yeah. All right. Okay. You've consented at that point. You've already signed it. Even if 20 years from now, you don't feel like anymore and you want to leave. It's like, yeah, but if he's forcing you to come to work, you've already signed it. It's there.
Here.
Yeah.
There was discussion for years whether or not when you were married, you could force your wife to have sex with you. There is discussion of that historically.
Yeah.
But all discussion of sex outside of marriage was already immoral and explained as to why it was immoral.
Yes.
There was no reason to have a separate rape category.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I mean.
Because it is just all immoral.
Yes, it's all immoral.
It's all bad.
Yes.
It can be whatever, just that argument's made. Rape is also...
Yeah, it's already part of the category.
Also immoral.
Yeah. There's nothing uniquely immoral about it.
It's rape. No, we've had this discussion before. Rape is the forcing of a woman. It's like a man. We had that discussion.
Rape,
a woman in a very, very sophisticated and impractical way rape a man. It's not really possible outside.
They can't like drug them.
Yes, what I mean.
If you do the Cardi B,
drug, that's rape because it's forcing someone to have immoral sex.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what's wrong about it.
Yes, but it's not. It's not the sex.
Yes.
It's the morality of the sex that makes rape bad.
Because it's outside of the context of marriage.
But if the sex is moral, it's not rape.
Exactly.
Technically.
Yeah.
There's other things can be wrong about it.
Yes.
But that's just not the word for it.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you go to your wife, start punching her in the face and then sticking your dick up her.
It's the punching in the face.
Yes.
It's the
violence.
It's the violence.
Yeah, it's the violence. Like, okay, yeah, that part is...
But the having sex part is not.
Yeah, that's as part of her obligation.
Yeah. And yours.
Exactly.
The man also can't withhold sex.
Exactly,
if the woman wants it. What is that?
I don't know.
It sounded like a foghorn.
I know. Damn.
Weird.
But yeah,
because I think that's the thing is it's not violently forcing your wife to have sex with you is kind of pathetic in a way.
Of course.
Yes, obviously it's wrong because it's violent.
Yes.
You shouldn't be violent towards your wife.
Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not the sex that's wrong.
Yeah, it's not the sex that's wrong.
So it's not rape.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. And sometimes a woman needs to be slapped.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, and so I mean, violence.
But there is a point at which it's excessive.
Yes, it has to be within the context of necessity, right? Yeah. Like if she's just misbehaving too much and just needs to be smacked or to be told what to do, it's like I don't think there's any sin there. Throughout history, I don't.
But if you beat the shit out of her,
yes, because she made tuna casserole, and then that's like okay,
that's different.
That's different, yeah. And I think we could recognize that, But to just try to broadly categorize these things and say the important part is that in this moment, she said no, and no means no. It's like, I'm sorry, you already signed the contract, right? You can't just say no now,
because you can literally go have the marriage nullified.
Exactly, yeah. This is because you're not fulfilling your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the whole conversation around rape is.
You're
dumb.
just kind of weirded out that it.
Yeah, I'm weirded out to the level of
gravity attributed to it.
Gravity. Yeah, exactly. Attributed to it. When it happened, and just curious as to the reasoning why, because I do think that a lot of it has to be correlated with consensualism. But also I do think a lot of it just has to be correlated with something else, like some weird phenomena that I think Foucault was able to discover but never fully articulate correctly.
In the history of sexuality.
Yeah. There is a weird thing that happened in the 1800s that just didn't happen prior to it. That at this point, I don't think anybody has come up with a proper explanation of why. Yeah. Like, why did the homosexual come about and decide? Why did rape become what it is at that point? Why did many other sexual confusion happen in the mid 1800s? Like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And then it just got progressively worse, progressively more and more to the point that we are now, that we're just completely confused. I mean, like literally, if you look at the general population, you know, people talking about transgenderism as if it is a real topic of discussion. It's weird. It's just strange to me because it doesn't make any sense. And I feel the same way about all these other conversations that it's stuff that we've talked about early on in the podcast with homosexuality. It's like all of these discussions have been weird throughout this entire time. I think the only difference now is that it has reached its logical end.
Yeah.
And now there's finally people saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now you went too far. It's like, no, they went too far almost 200 years ago, man.
Or not before. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's when they went way too fucking far talking about all this shit. When in the end, it's like, we need to just look at the teleology. We need to look at the structure of things and understand the final causations to see where the moral boundaries lie. It's not about consent. It's not about any of this other bullshit that they kind of try to bring on the table. Like, ooh, if you tell them, if you don't affirm that they're a woman, they're going to kill themselves. And so now it's consequential. It's like this weird consequential utilitarian and consensualist hodgepodge of nonsense that they try to dictate all of morality, where it just skews everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so skewed now to the point that we truly believe that you could rape your wife. You truly believe that a man can become a woman, and all of these things just doesn't make any sense because there's no coherent, I guess, foundation for many of these moral discussions about sexuality. I think it's just all bizarre. Mm-hmm. But anyways, that's kind of
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could end with a rape talk if you want.
Yeah, can't rape your wife.
Yes.
We can end there.
All right.
How long did we go?
An hour and 30.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
For how physically disgusting I feel.
Yes, yeah.
And how little you slept.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like right now, my head is pounding.
Oh, shit.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Blood pressure? I don't know. Maybe I'm dying.
Maybe.
Brain tumor? Anyway, we'll talk to you later.
Yes.
We'll be around.
Bye.
Bye.